guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I am bringing you Becca'S Bookopoly round 17. So if you guys are unfamiliar with Bookopoly, this is the TBR game that I play every single month. On this board we have a selection of prompts. I roll the dice and pick a book that corresponds with the prompt that I land on. If you have never seen a Bookopoly video from me before, I will put a link up here to January's round where you can become familiar with the board and the rules of this game. Like I said, this is round 17, so I will also pop the full Bookopoly playlist down in my description box. However, for those of you who've been here before, let's get started. So we have just had April, which was the month of the Owl's Magical Readathon. That was a very stressful month for me reading wise, trying to get all of those books done. So for May, I am definitely looking for something a little bit more relaxed. Smaller books, less books, anything that means that I am not reading 160 pages per day, essentially. There is currently only one readathon that I plan to participate in May, and that is Believeth round 2, which is hosted by my good friend Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin. This is a readathon that centres around reading children's and middle grade literature, and it will run for 2 weeks from the 11th of May to the 24th of May, I believe. I will of course link Gavin's announcement video down in my description box. He has made a little compendium that you can buy on Amazon which has all of the prompts in and also a really pretty map. However, if you don't want to buy the full compendium, in the description box of Gavin's video you will find a PDF version of this that you can print out or just read on your computer. So because I will be participating in Believeathon all throughout the middle of the month, I am hoping to get quite a few middle grade books on this TBR, which is going to be a little bit difficult because I only have one singular middle grade space on the board, but I'm hoping I can work something out somehow. Regardless, I will be posting a separate TBR for Believeathon a little bit close to the date because I do think it's unlikely I'm going to get many middle grade in my Bookopoly TBR. So I think that just about covers my plans for the month. So let us see which books Bookopoly picked out for me in April and how many of them I managed to read. So as April was the month of the Magical Readathon, I did have 12 rolls in my April TBR. By the rules of Bookopoly, I did not have to read every single one of those 12 books, although I did have to read these 7. So here we have Battleground by Rachel Churcher for the challenge to read a dystopian, Children of the Whales Volume 4 by Abby Umeda, which was a manga/graphic novel, Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin, which was to read a young adult fantasy, The Dead House by Dawn Kurtgich, which was a thriller, Lady of Light and Shadows by C.L. Wilson, which was to read a book that was gifted to me, The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, which was to read an adult fantasy, and Blood Air by Emily Wenzer, which was selected by a chance card. Now I am very happy to say that I did actually manage to read every single one of these 7, aside from Battleground, which I DNF'd because I really didn't like the writing style, and The Final Empire, which I am currently halfway through and do still intend to finish before the end of the month. So now we've covered all our bases, let us get into our first roll for May. Okay, so last month we landed on contemporary or romance. First roll. 11. A community shelf card. Instagram recommends. So we are, as usual, starting the month very strong by taking away all control that I have over what I read. Our first roll was a community shelf card and Instagram recommends came up. So in my Instagram stories, I did post a photo of these 4 books and asked you guys to pick which one you would like me to read. The 4 books in question were Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb, which is the second book in the Farseer trilogy and that I have to read in May anyway for Elder Lingalong, The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden, which is the second book in the Winter Night trilogy, which is an adult fantasy, Stop in the Name of Pants by Louise Renison, which is the 9th book in the Confessions of Georgie Nicholson series, which I'm currently rereading, and volume 1 of Oz the Complete Collection, which I thought would come in handy for Believeathon. So I have tallied up all of the votes on these 4 books and wrote it down on a handy dandy post-it note, and I can confirm that the winner is The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden. You know, I really thought you guys would do me a solid and pick Royal Assassin, but apparently the odds are not in my favour already. So The Girl in the Tower did completely destroy all of its competition, receiving 40 votes out of a possible 72. So this is the second book in the Winter Night trilogy and the sequel to The Bear and the Nightingale, which is a book that I read, I believe it may have been February, and absolutely adored. The Bear and the Nightingale is an adult fantasy that takes place in historical Russia, and it follows a girl called Vasilisa who has the ability to talk to spirits. Vasilisa lives in a northern northern Russian town where the townspeople pay tribute to the village spirits in exchange for protection, even though the people do not know that the spirits are actually protecting them. All of this changes when Vasilisa's father takes a new wife who is a very devout Christian, and she also brings a priest with her who begins to turn the townspeople away from the old gods and towards Christianity, leaving them unprotected from malevolent spirits. There's also a romance element in this series that I did not expect, and I believe that that aspect will unfold further throughout the series, so I'm very excited to get to this one. And this book was also a gift from the lovely Linda, so thank you so much to Linda for that. Roll number 2. 7. A young adult fantasy. Our second role was young adult fantasy, so for that one I'm going to be reading Burn by Patrick Ness. This is a review copy that was kindly provided to me by Walker Books, so thank you so much to Walker Books for that. This is Patrick Ness's brand new young adult novel. I believe it's released on the 7th of May. I do not know too much about this. The reason that I accepted this when it was offered to me is that it does contain a dragon. However, I believe that this book is going to be unlike anything that I have ever read, because while it does contain a dragon, that is something that I usually associate with high fantasy, but this book takes place in Washington State in the 1950s and follows a family who hire a dragon to work on their farm, which is something that apparently only poor people have to do. Roll number 3. 7 again. Science fiction. So our third role was science fiction, which I'm actually quite glad about because I have still yet to read Lifelike by Jay Kristoff. This is the first book in Jay Kristoff's solo young adult sci-fi series. I don't really know too much about it. Jay Kristoff is one of my favorite authors, so when he releases a new book I do tend to buy it without really looking into it, but I believe that this is part Robot Wars, part Mad Max. I believe it's a retelling of the Romanov dynasty, and I believe there is a really fun character in here called Lemon Fresh that everybody loves. I'm a little bit trepidatious because I've never read a solo sci-fi book from Jay Kristoff, but I do have a lot of confidence in him, and I do believe that the final book in this trilogy is going to be released this year, which means that if I do enjoy this, I can pretty much just blow through the series. Roll number 4. 7 again. A fantasy romance. So role number 4 was fantasy romance, and usually when this comes up I am jumping for joy because fantasy romance is very quickly becoming one of my favorite genres. However, I don't actually currently own a ton of fantasy romance that I haven't already read. So for this one I'm going to be continuing with the Tyrant Soul series. Book 3 I believe is called King of Sword and Sky. I do not currently own this. It is however on my Amazon wishlist, so I will check if it's still there, and if it is I will buy it. So this is the third book in the Tyrant Soul series, which is an adult fantasy romance series that follows a Fae king called Rain Tyrant Soul. In this world, the Fae race is tied very closely to the lives of mythical creatures called Tyrant, which are like enormous winged cats. For some reason, the Tyrant are dying out, and if that happens, then the Fae race will also die out. So Rain is looking into every possible solution that he can find to saving the Tyrant and also his people. The pursuit of this knowledge does lead him to a human girl called Elisetta Barastani, and as soon as Rain catches sight of her, he realizes that she is his true mate. Now this is unusual for many reasons. One of those is that a Tyrant Soul has never historically had a true mate, and another is that Elisetta is not Fae, she is a human girl. And a fantasy plotline does begin to unfold, which stems from a 1,000-year-old war between the Fae and the mages that Rain actually fought in. For what will hopefully be our final roll, roll number 5, is a double 1, so not our final roll. For fans of. I knew this TBR was looking too good to be true. What should have been my final roll actually turned into a double, but I did land on For Fans Of, which is a space that I have not landed on before. So the For Fans Of space means that I have to read a book that has been blurbed as for fans of something else. And for this, I'm going to be reading King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, which according to Stylist is like The Hunger Games meets Potter, meets Lord of the Rings, meets Game Game of Thrones epic magical fantasy. Now that definitely sounds like bullshit to me, but it certainly fills this prompt. As you guys are probably aware, myself and Jade from JD Ray Reads have been buddy reading the entire Grishaverse together. King of Scars is the last published book in the Grishaverse that we can actually read. There will be a couple of more, but this is the last one that is out so far. I don't know too much about the plot of this, but this is the first book in the third Grisha series, and it follows Nikolai, who is my favourite character from the original Grisha trilogy, and probably my favourite character in the Grishaverse overall, closely tied with Mr. Kazbreca. So I was very excited when Leigh Bardugo announced that she was going to be writing a Nikolai duology, because I definitely think that his character was done dirty in the original trilogy. However, I've heard quite a few reviews that hint that this is actually not going to be all that I hope it's going to be. I think a lot of people were disappointed that this book does not centre around Nikolai quite as much as they expected it to, so I am going in with slightly lowered expectations, and I hope by doing that I will be able to enjoy this for what it is. If you are unfamiliar with what the Grishaverse is as a whole, it is a young adult fantasy universe that has been created by Leigh Bardugo that follows characters in a world where there are normal people and there are Grisha, and the Grisha do have a variety of abilities. Now I believe this is going to take place in Ravka, where the original trilogy took place, and in Ravka, right at the beginning of Shadow and Bone, there is a shadowy area of land that bisects the country and makes trade very difficult, and this area is full of demons. One day when our main character Alina enters the fold, she releases this brilliant blast of light that clears the way and kills a whole bunch of demons. This has never been done before, it has never been seen before, so Alina is taken to the Grisha Academy where she can hone her abilities. Now a lot has happened since then, so this book is definitely going to be taking place in a very different version of Ravka, but I'm very excited to see where this goes, and I'm wondering if it's going to be a little bit dark as well. I hope it is. And this book was kindly gifted to me by Kristen, so thank you so much, Kristen, for that. Okay, hopefully our last roll, roll number 6, is a 5. And that is a friend pick. So my final roll for May landed on friend pick, and I thought what better friend to pick a book for my May TBR than the creator of Believeth himself, Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin. So I did message him, I sent him some photos of my shelves, I asked him to pick a book that he would like me to read this month, and he selected Malamander by Thomas Taylor, which is also one of the very first books that Gavin ever gifted to me back when we became friends last April. So I don't really know too much about this. Gavin sent me this out of the blue because it was the Waterstones book of the month for whatever month he sent it to me in. All I know is that this is a children's book. It takes place in a hotel, and there is a legend in this world of something called the Malamander. I'm not sure what it is, but it sounds amphibious or lizard-like, and the synopsis does say, out beyond the pier something stirs. Could the legendary Malamander have returned? So that is all I know about this. I expect that I will enjoy it because for Gavin to have recommended it to me, it must be good because he knows that I don't read a whole ton of middle grade. So I'm expecting to enjoy this, but I don't really know to what extent. So that is it for my Bookopoly rolls for the month. However, Bookopoly has done me a little bit dirty this month, and so have you guys as well. So as well as those 6 books, and as well as my Believeathon TBR, which is going to be coming in a week or so, I do have 2 more books that I have to read in May, as they are the group books for read-alongs that I'm co-hosting. So the first and most important book I need to read in May is Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in the Farseer trilogy. This is also the second book in the Realm of the Elderling series, which is Robin Hobb's universe. My book club, the Catch Up Book Club, are currently doing a read-along for this series, so I do have to read this book this month. If you are participating in Elderling Long, then the live show for this is going to be at the beginning of June, and we will announce the exact date a little bit closer to the time. This is an adult epic coming-of-age fantasy that follows a young man called Fitzchivalry Farseer, who is the bastard son of the heir to the throne. His maternal grandfather drops him off at the keep one day and pretty much washes his hands of Fitz and says that he has to go back to his father. However, before Fitz actually manages to return to his father abdicates the throne and leaves to go and live in the countryside, which leaves Fitz in a very awkward position and nobody really knows what to do with him. However, because of him being being royal-blooded but not really a member of the royal family, they do decide to train him as an assassin, and the majority of the entire realm of the Elderlings is his life story. And then the final book to add to this TBR is going to be 100 pages out of the Books of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. I am a co-host of Le Guin Along, which was a read-along of this entire thing, created by Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction. The book for the month of May is The Tombs of Tawan, which is only 100 pages out of this entire thing. I do think it is the shortest book in the series overall. However, our live show for books 2 and 3 of the Books of Earthsea is only going to be in July, so if absolutely necessary, I can push those 100 pages into June. The Books of Earthsea is a young adult series starting out. I believe it may go into adults a little bit later on in the series, but in the first book we follow a wizard called Ged who is very talented with magical abilities, so he is sent to a magic school. One day when he's showing off in front of his friends, he accidentally releases this shadow that then haunts him for many years of his life. So that was the plot of the first book. I do believe the plot lines in this series are going to be quite isolated and overall make up the story of Ged's life. So I'm not really sure what the Tombs of Tawan holds, except I think it has something to do with a piece of jewelry. So here is my May TBR so far. Don't forget that I do have King of Sword and Sky to add on to here when I get myself a copy, and I also have 4 books to add for Believeth on. So much for that easier month that I wanted. But I think that is about it for my May Bookopoly TBR. Please let me know if you guys are participating in Believeth-on in the month of May, and also let me know which book you guys are most excited to read in May. But that's about it from me today, guys, so please don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to. If you head into my description box, you will find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as links to my Bookish body butter and candle website, the Instagram for that, and a 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today, guys. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.